As you know, we shared a video about the American society 1 week ago. The title of the post is United States Society on the Verge of Collapse, Chicago's Gun Violence. In our video, we talked about dozens of gun-killed people in Chicago. This news did not happen long ago, about 1 week ago. After a very short time from this news, we are now facing a police violence in Minneapolis. No form of violence is acceptable, and these actions are inhuman. What we witness on the streets of Minneapolis is just the beginning. Our nation is deeply divided, and a large part of the population is losing faith in the basic institutions that govern our society. Personally, I don't know how to watch the video of what happened to George Floyd without emotional reaction. Police brutality has been a major problem in the United States for years and has reached the point where most of the country no longer believes in the police. Of course, the rebels do not help their cause by burning the alleged offenders. And after Wednesday caused a lot of chaos, the protesters returned to the streets of Minneapolis on Thursday. Protests and, in some cases, violence continued Thursday in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd, a black man who died in police custody after a white officer pinned him to the ground under his knee. Hundreds of protesters flooded Minneapolis streets Thursday evening for a march through downtown. Traffic was halted as a crowd of people stretched for up to 4 blocks. Protesters shouted, "I can't breathe," and "No justice, no peace. Prosecute the police," as volunteer marshals in colored vests directed traffic. Unfortunately, this is a small preview of those coming to major cities in America. If you think these riots about police brutality are intense, wait until the economic riots begin. We are entering a period in which millions of Americans will become increasingly hopeless as they dive deep into a new economic crisis. On Thursday, we found out that 2.1 million Americans made their first request for unemployment money last week. First-time claims for unemployment benefits totaled 2.1 million last week, the lowest total since the coronavirus crisis began, though indicative that a historically high number of Americans remain separated from their jobs. Economists surveyed by Dow Jones had been looking for 2.05 million. The total represented a decrease of 323,000 from the previous week's upwardly revised 2.438 million. This was the 10th consecutive week when the number of new requests for unemployment benefits was over 2 million. Continuing to remind my listeners, the highest value of this number for a week earlier this year was 695,000 in 1982. So even after very disastrous weeks in a row, we are still about 3 times higher than this old record. Overall, 40.8 million Americans made new claims for unemployment benefits in the past 10 weeks. This means the largest increase in unemployment with wide margin in United States history, and over a quarter of all jobs in the United States have already been eliminated. For now, however, the impact of these job losses has been backed by a generous unemployment bonus of $600 a week, distributed by the federal government, but these benefits are expected to end in the late July. Right now, many are able to take advantage of an additional $600 a week in unemployment benefits provided by the federal government on top of each state's standard jobless benefit. But that benefit is set to expire at the end of July if Congress does not pass another stimulus bill to extend benefits. If these benefits are not extended, we will see a great national temper, vigil, and currently President Trump and Republican leaders in the Senate are not planning to expand them. We will see what happens, but there may be tens of millions of very angry unemployed Americans who can't pay their bills soon. And every day, worse economic news continues. Last month, we learned that durable consumer goods orders fell by 19.4% compared to the same period of the last year, while pending home sales declined by 34.6% compared to the same month a year ago. As I discussed yesterday, we're watching that a complete economic slump has begun to emerge, and the reopening for business of many United States will not stop the momentum created right now. In the first weeks of the epidemic, there was only one drop of major bankruptcies, but now this trick has become a flood. In the first weeks of the pandemic, it was just a trickle. Companies like Alaskan Airlines, Rowan Air pushed into bankruptcy as travel came to a halt and markets collapsed. But the financial distress wrought by the shutdowns only deepened, producing what is now a wave of insolvencies washing through America's corporations. In May alone, some 27 companies reporting at least $50 million in liabilities sought court protection from creditors, the highest number since the Great Depression. They range from well-known United States mainstays such as J.C. Penney Corporation and J. Crew Group to Ayers Carriers, Latham Airlines, Group SA, and Avianca Holdings. Their business decimated as travelers stayed put. We observe that store closings take place at a rate we have never seen before in our entire history. At this point, CoreSite research predicts that approximately 25,000 stores will be permanently closed by the end of this calendar year. CoreSite research, which tracks retail openings and closings, has upped its projected store closures for 2020 from 8,000 at the beginning of the year to 15,000 at the beginning of March to about 25,000 now. That's unlike anything the industry has ever seen. CoreSite CEO and founder Deborah Vainspeak said it's the speed with which it's all happening which has been a little surprising. Throughout the good years, there was a lot of anger all over America, and now this new economic depression will make things much worse. When there is no work available and people cannot even provide the foundations for their families, we will be disappointed on a scale unlike anything we have seen before. So please note what is happening on the streets of Minneapolis right now, because what will the future look like in all our major cities? Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.